Okay, does anyone have any idea what, not just this room, but the whole building is? A convict building? It is, but does anyone know what it's actually called?
Soldier room.
No, not this, just this room, the whole building.
Soldier house.
No. Oh, nearly.
Police station.
Almost. It was part police station.
A village.
No, that's the whole town.
A jail.
No.
The jail.
So where do you have to go before you end up in jail?
Court.
Court. Okay, so this is a courthouse, the whole building in its entirety. Okay. What we're in right now is the men's holding cell or the jail. Okay. Unlike in jails today where our prisoners are in jail for months, years or life, this was just a holding cell. Okay, so at any time there was up to 32 adult men in here, and they were held only for about 2 weeks, okay, until it was time for them to be tried in the courtroom. So this wasn't actually a punishment. This was they'd done something wrong and they just needed to hold them until such time as they were tried and then punished. Okay. So we didn't actually have any jails as such where they were held for long periods, months or years. All the convicts were actually assigned to our free settlers. So we're just going to say for the purpose of today that your teachers are the free settlers and all students are now convicts.
Oh.
So basically you got drunk and disorderly, you might have tried to run away, you might have been obnoxious, and you were then brought into the cells, okay, before you were tried. So as I said, there was up to 32 adult men in here at any given time. So the conditions that you're feeling right now were similar to what our convicts actually felt. There wasn't enough room for them to lay down, stretch out and have a good sleep. Okay, they were in here for up to 2 weeks. So there wasn't the ability for them to do a lot of exercise while they were in here. Okay, so imagine just sitting in this space. We've got our school holidays coming up in a month or so. Imagine spending the whole school holidays stuck in here with nothing to do. Okay, they didn't have obviously any way of watching movies or having electronic gadgets to play and to amuse themselves to keep the time. So it was just 2 weeks of sitting doing nothing. They were fed, they weren't starved, so that was a nice thing. Does anyone here like oatmeal or porridge for breakfast? Okay, so what do you like on it? What do you put on top of it?
Raspberries.
Raspberries, nice.
Honey.
Honey, cool.
Honey and butter.
Honey and butter. Okay, I haven't tried butter on it before. Nothing. Just oats. What, boiled in water? Yep. Okay, well as a convict you'd do alright then, because that was basically what our convicts got as well. So Queensland wasn't known for its bananas. There wasn't any berries or anything growing locally that they could add to their cereal. It was known as gruel. It was basically oats boiled in water over a big fire, and that was it. There was no other flavouring. Maybe a little bit of salted meat, but that was about it. Okay, so similar to what we would call beef jerky today. So our convicts were fed. They could possibly get a little bit of damper or bread roll. Okay, take a seat. If you sit on your bottom, your legs won't get so sore. So they would have a little bit of damper, possibly a cup of tea on occasion as well. But that was basically it. There wasn't a great deal of variety in their meals. Okay. So what's the next thing that we need to do after we eat? What's the natural thing we need to do?
Brush our teeth.
Sorry?
Brush our teeth.
Brush teeth. Okay, they didn't have toothbrushes. They didn't actually brush teeth in the day. So all of you that find it painful when mum and dad says, have you brushed your teeth? Well, if you lived in the 1800s, you don't have to brush your teeth. So that was a bonus. Go to the toilet. Yeah. Okay, so whilst you were here at Hartley, the only availability for a bathroom was in the corner. There's a bucket. Okay. Obviously, back in the day, there was no electricity, so the light was what existed. Okay. So you didn't necessarily always have it lit up like a Christmas tree so that you knew where you were going. Now, what happens to wood when it gets wet? So metal rusts. What does wood do? It sort of goes soft and squashy, yeah.
Expand.
It can expand and swell for sure. Yep. But there is a specific word to what happens. Starts with the letter R. So metal rusts and timber what? Rots. It does indeed. So there's holes in the wall near the bucket. Our convicts weren't trying to escape. Okay? Our convicts may have not had very good aim in the 1800s, and they have missed the bucket on numerous occasions, and they've actually caused the wood to rot. Okay, so imagine when you go to a show or some sort of fair or something, and sometimes or a sports event, you might have those plastic portable toilets that you can go in, and in the summertime they're not very pleasant. They smell very revolting because they're all hot. So imagine that in here, similar situation. Okay, they've got a bucket in the corner, not great ventilation, just a little window up there that was open. Okay, so the aroma in here wouldn't have been very pleasant. Things that we take for granted, like having a shower every day, having clean clothes, deodorant, soap, shampoo, all the things that we use for, keeping ourselves smelling okay so that we can be in this close proximity. Our convicts didn't have the ability. Okay, they weren't necessarily showering every day. Their showers would have been swimming in the creek once a week. Okay, they wouldn't have been washing their hair. Their clothes were the same set of clothes day after day. They may have washed them in the creek once a week or so as well when they've had their own bathing. Okay, so the aroma in here wasn't great because they didn't have deodorant. Okay, they didn't have all those things to make them smell better. So you've got their body odour because they've been outside working in the sun, and they've also got the aroma of the bucket. So the smell in here would have been quite nasty.
Why is there like houses and all this stuff everywhere?
Yeah, okay, so a lot of our convicts did some carvings or graffiti, if you like, while they were in here. Please don't rub your hands or fingernails on the walls to check, but the timber is quite hard. If we were to lock you up today, I think the pictures and the words and the details that you might draw yourself would be quite different to our convicts. Our convicts had very poor education. Okay, a lot of them probably right now, you guys are actually more educated than they would have been. A lot of them had never been to school at all, and maybe some of them only knew how to write their own initials, and that was it. Okay, some of them didn't know how to read or write at all. And a lot of our letters that we can see are actually backwards, like this B. Okay, so similar to what you might have done in kindergarten. So everything's transposed. We've got different pictures. This one here is representing Norfolk Island in Queensland. It's a pine tree. Okay, if anyone's ever been to Palm Beach in Sydney, the pine trees at Palm Beach actually are Norfolk Island pines. Okay, so they are what's being represented there. Now, unlike Hartley, at Norfolk, convicts were actually, I'll get to questions in a minute then, convicts were actually hung at Norfolk as punishment. Okay, Hartley, no one was ever hung. Okay, the punishments weren't that severe. But this is representing the gallows or the actual apparatus that they would have climbed on to be hung. Okay, so this is probably just a warning that you don't really want to end up at Norfolk. Okay, we've got Van Diemen's Land, and again, some of these letters are backwards. Okay, so, and then we've got a tall ship up here, which is basically obviously how they arrived from England. Okay, so we won't find pictures of cars, we won't find pictures of Xboxes, we won't find pictures of even push bikes. Okay, things that we take for granted that have just been around forever. Our convicts wouldn't have even known that those things would exist. Okay, so. How do you think they may have actually done these carvings? What would they have used?
A stick.
A stick? Possibly, although they wouldn't have been bringing anything other than what they were wearing into the cells. Okay. Fingernails? Yeah, the timber's quite hard. It'll take quite a lot to mark it.
Teeth?
Teeth? Possibly.
A spoon.
No cutlery. So you guys were actually sharing bowls when it came to your eating what you were eating, and there was no cutlery.
Maybe when there was a splitter, they would take the wood out. And
Yeah, possibly. Although the timber's probably not hard enough to mark as such. Rocks. Okay, so the rock is sandstone. It ends up with a bit of like a pile of sand if you rub it too hard, and you can tell by just how much the doorway has worn that the sandstone does crumble quite easily. So they're prisoners. What sort of things do prisoners wear? Orange? Well, maybe not in the day. That's more America.
Maybe like thin cloth.
Yeah, they've got thin cotton clothing.
White and black.
White and black, yes, possibly. But we're thinking about how they're going to make marks in the wall. Yeah.
If they got chained by a claw on their neck, they could use the chain to punch the door.
Yeah, so they would have actually chains or cuffs on their wrists as well, not just their legs, okay? So metal bars around each wrist and links of chain connecting the two together. Okay, so, and those chains would be quite sharp, and that would be obviously how they could actually make marks in the walls. To ask that you quietly stand up, we're just going to go into the next room for the next one.
It's time to go to the next room. Yeah. Oh, recording. Hi.
So moving right back towards the door so everyone will fit. As having kids court or juvie or anything like that as far as today, they couldn't put their hand up and say, you know, I have rights, you can't whip me, and all those sort of things. It was just if the magistrate said you were being whipped, then that's what was happening. So the cat of nine tails would have had sharp things tied into the end of it. Bits of animal bone, glass, scrap metal, anything like that that was actually going to cause harm and hurt in the flesh of the convict that was being whipped. Just face your teacher. Yep, and have a lie down. Just bend your hips and lay on the timber, that's it. And put your ear on the timber. So put your, that's it, lay down, that's the one.
Dun dun dun.
Face your classmates. Alright, so in the day, the person doing the whipping was another convict. So it could be someone that they actually knew, or that they considered to be a friend or a mate or whatever you want to call it. So in the day, the back would have been exposed by having the shirt removed. So there would have just been flesh. Okay, today's a bit cold, so we won't make you your back. There would have been a leather belt across the lower back to protect the internal organs. Okay, and as I said, the person doing the whipping was another convict. Now, if I was his friend and I wanted to whip him lightly, or maybe the magistrate has requested that he have 50 lashes, but because he's my friend, I might only whip him maybe 30 times. Do you think that I would do that? Yeah? What's going to happen to me if I don't do it properly?
You're going to be whipped.
Yeah, I'm going to be whipped. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter if he's my friend or not. He's going to be whipped hard and as many times as he's meant to be. Now, if you just feel your spine and your rib cage sort of behind through your thickness of your shirts, it's quite close to the surface, okay? So 30, 50 lashes, we're actually going to start to see parts of spine, parts of rib cage. It's a very severe punishment, right? It wasn't just, you've been naughty, you're having an afternoon detention, and then don't do it again, okay? Tomorrow, make sure the dog doesn't eat your homework. All right. So, on the count of 3, I'm going to lash you, and you're going to scream, okay? So just put your head down. That's it. Are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. That's good. Just take your hood off. So basically, so now we can start to see parts of that spine, parts of that rib cage. Before we let him go, we're actually going to pick up a handful of salt and throw that onto his back. So there's 2 reasons why we throw salt on his back. It's going to hurt, yeah, it's going to burn. What's another reason, do you think?
It will make the process of healing slower.
Slower? Do you think? Pasta, yeah. So what are we going to try? What are we trying to stop from happening? We don't want it to be
Bleeding.
We don't want it to bleed, so it's going to seal it and stop the bleeding, and that's going to in turn stop it from becoming what? Infected. Awesome. So hands up if you've had antibiotics before. So for an earache or a chest infection or something. Okay, so if you guys were living in the 1800s, chances are you'd be dead right now.
Uh-oh.
Because antibiotics weren't invented. And for the record, in the cells, well, even in the free settlers' homes, toilet paper wasn't invented either. But there was a lot of families that were losing children and family members to disease because they didn't have the right medicine. Okay, so antibiotics was one of them. So if his bat becomes infected, chances are that in a couple of weeks he could die from the actual lashing. Not because the lashing has killed him, but because the infection has. Okay, so it's really important that we try and stop that infection from happening.
How often did they clean the bucket?
Hopefully before it overflowed. I can't guarantee it though, but you know, we hope that that's what happened. So.
For being Irish, but the landlords were English.
Make way, make way. For one, it's time you know. The best is to silver day.
It has to relation song. We need a new song to told one story. This tradition is our mission and more. But there's so much to do. Watch it from the carol. It's all you need. We share everything we make. We don't care.
It's the morning and it's all dirty. So mom's gonna be like, what cabin is this? So hot, guys. This is our pigsty bedroom, and we have like an extra bed. That's why these two things are here. Hey.
I just realized that I have clothes.
Hi, guys. Hi. Say hi. Hi. Oh my god.
My hair's
The exact same thing I was doing.